Today, we're diving into the big O in BOAT, a term coined by Gartner. BOAT stands for Business Orchestration and Automation Technologies, and the O here specifically highlights orchestration. So, orchestration is becoming increasingly critical in this new era of automation, right? So, where intelligent agents are not just tools, they are collaborators. They don't just execute tasks, they coordinate, adapt, and make decisions in dynamic environments. So, we'll also explore the emerging concept of agentic workflows, which is a strategic approach to designing systems where autonomous agents operate with intent, respond in real time, and work in concert with multiple technologies within the board paradigm to achieve complex multi-step outcomes. Right. My name is Amit Bojraj. I lead marketing here at Orkes, and I will be the sole presenter for the next 30 minutes. With that, let's dive into the agenda. It's going to take you on a journey from understanding the current automation landscape to implementing scalable agentic workflows. We'll start by examining how the automation landscape is evolving and why traditional approaches are creating silos in the automation landscape. Then we'll dive into the Gartner board framework and discover why the big O, orchestration, is a game-changing element that ties everything together. We'll explore what agentic workflows really mean in practice, and finally, how Orkes Conductor, the platform, enables these capabilities, concluding with some real-world use cases that demonstrate the power of an orchestrated automation workflow. The automation landscape has undergone dramatic transformation over the last few years, right? So what we're witnessing is not just incremental improvement, but a fundamental shift in how enterprises approach automation. Traditional automation focused on single point solutions like RPA, robotic process automation for repetitive tasks, BPA for process modeling, iPaaS or integration platform as a service for connecting systems. However, as organizations mature in their digital transformation journey, they're discovering that it's to truly mature the digital transformation efforts, they have to go from isolated tools to more comprehensive integrated approaches. So before we jump in, let's do some definitions for some of the terms that you will hear in this presentation, right? So I'll start with BPA, which stands for Business Process Automation. It's also known as BPMN, so Business Process Modeling and Rotation Platforms. It refers to automating complex, multi-critical, like mission-critical processes that go far beyond simple tasks. So what sets BPAs apart is the ability to orchestrate multi-step workflows that involves both humans and systems. They focus on core operations like order fulfillment, claims processing, loan origination processes, using rules-based logic combined with adaptive exception handling. They can maintain state, and then they can scale reliably or reliably as the complexity of the application grows. So crucially, it's about running the business through event-driven workflows that connect decisions, systems, and human input. Then you have LCAP, which is low-code application platform. So these platforms help IT teams or citizen developers to build custom mission-critical apps faster using visual tools, pre-built components, and now even agentic or generative AI without writing thousands of lines of code, right? So what makes LCAPs powerful is that they can combine speed with enterprise-grade control, while also offering governance and scalability and integration with legacy systems. And there are a few more terms that you should be aware of. One is iPaaS, RPA, and then IDP. So iPaaS stands for Integrations Platform as a Service. It basically means that you are able to connect disparate systems and data sources through pre-built connectors and APIs, right? So it kind of creates a technical integration layer between applications, but it lacks native capabilities for end-to-end process orchestration and governance, right? Robotic process automation, or RPA, uses scripted bots to automate repetitive rule-based tasks by emulating human interactions with application UIs. They excel at high volume, low exception tasks, like, for example, invoice data entry, but they are very limited to service level automation without native process intelligence. And then you have intelligent document processing, or IDP, that leverages AI, machine learning, and optical character recognition, or OCR, to automate the extraction, classification, and validation of data from documents. So yeah, these are the kind of the three, I would say five terms. So BPA, LCAP, iPaaS, RP, and IDP is something that you should be familiar with as we go into the board conversation. So now, while each of these technologies deliver powerful automation capabilities, they often end up creating silos, right? Like isolated pockets where processes are automated, but don't necessarily communicate or coordinate with each other. So the siloed approach can lead to inefficiencies, duplication, and missed opportunities for deeper process optimization and kind of true business transformation. So the real opportunity lies in creating synergies by orchestrating these diverse technologies so that they can all work together seamlessly. If you think about like BPAs, like business process automation platforms, they're focused on modeling workflows. But if you go to the traditional BPMN, if I think about like APN and Pega, for example, which are built for a previous generation of technology like monoliths mostly, they can be very inflexible with rule-based systems, and they kind of lack that easy integration of AI capabilities and handling rapid changes in the organization. They'll also struggle with scale and reliability, because they're not built for that distributed systems era that we are currently familiar with. LCAPs, or low-code application platforms, they enable quick applications and automations for citizen developers, but they often create silos because they're not part of a larger orchestration strategy. RPA is great for repetitive tasks, but operates at the task level, and they struggle with, again, end-to-end process orchestration. iPaaS, or integration platforms, connect systems and data, yet without a central orchestrator. State and business logic lives in code across services, which reduce visibility. Same thing with IDP. You can extract information from documents, structured or unstructured. But again, isolated implementations create data silos without the context that you can have with end-to-end orchestration. So when BPA workflows, low-code applications, RPA bots, AI-driven document processing, and integration platforms all align, that's when you get true end-to-end automation that spans people, systems, data, delivering faster, smarter, and more resilient business operations. This is a good transition to the board discussion, right? So BOAT was introduced by Gartner. It's highlighted in this research report, which is called the Quick Answer. I think it was probably a year or so back. This is the first report that came out. Beyond RPA, BP, and low code, the future is BOAT, right? So they are pointing to a new integrated approach that reflects how enterprises are shifting towards kind of unified automation strategies that break down silos, improve coordination, and unlock higher business value. And so what exactly is BOAT? So it's a comprehensive automation strategy that brings together BPA, LCAP, IDP, iPaaS, and RPA all under one roof, right? Um, but the key insight here is that it's not just enough to have these five components in place. And to be very honest with you, no single vendor today can offer you all five components of BOAT comprehensively, right? In most cases, you will have a company that's very strong in RPA, or you may have a company that's very strong in iPaaS. Um, but it's going to be extremely rare to find any vendor that can do all five elements of BOAT comprehensively. Well, that is where I think orchestration becomes really critical, because in the end of the day, you may have some element of RPA, some element of LCAP, or some elements of IDP happening in your organization, but you still need that central orchestrator to bring all that story together. So how should you think about how to approach both, and how should you think about what is the right, like, how should we start thinking about approaching both from an implementation standpoint? So here again, I'm going to lean on Gartner because Gartner has done a lot of research in this area, and there are a couple of interesting examples that I was looking at, which made me think, "Look, this is something I should talk about with the broader audience here." So this is from a report that came from one of the analysts that talks about like which approaches should IT leaders take for implementing a board platform. So they came up with an analogy of like a ship metaphor, right? So they had that idea of like a shipyard, a fishing boat, or a cruise ship. So if you're a shipping yard, you're doing it yourself. Like this path is about assembling your own boat, right? By integrating existing investments and new tools, often from specialist providers. It offers maximum flexibility, but demands more integration efforts, skills, and ongoing maintenance. The second, I think, is the fishing boat. These are focused boat providers with deep expertise in specific areas like orchestration, low-code platforms, iPaaS, RPA, or they could have deep expertise in three or four of these areas. So they're really well suited for heterogeneous environments and multi-vendor ecosystems, but may vary in the capability breadth, right? And the third is, I would say, our cruise is a cruise ship. So enterprise application vendors that offer end-to-end automation experiences embedded within their platforms. So they can, so if they're heavily invested in their ecosystem, you can go for this approach, but it'll come with like less flexibility and potential vendor lock-in. So to determine the right path, you, as the person who is making the decision, should assess several key factors: the specific business problems, the stakeholders, the complexity and the diversity of your landscape, the type of automation needs that you have, the cost, and the vendor lock-in consideration to make that final call. In the end of the day, as I said, it's very unlikely one platform will cover all five elements of board comprehensively. The goal is to define an architecture that aligns with your current needs and that can adapt as your business and technology stacks evolve over time. One more lens of looking at this would be thinking about the maturity of your automation platform, right? So your automation maturity in the organization fundamentally determines what your board implementation strategy should look like. Again, this report came from Gartner. There was a webinar on this topic as well. You should check it out. But organizations at different stages of their maturity will have different entry points, different priorities, and different challenges to overcome. So, for example, beginners should start small by automating tactical problems to build momentum and get buy-in. Jumping into a full board platform is too costly, too expensive. Developing and intermediate organizations are well positioned for, I would say, for the board discussion, right? They've gained some automation experience and need to orchestrate more complex processes without heavy, legacy tool migrations. Board offers that practical way to scale automation strategically. And then if you have an advanced organizations with mature automation, best-in-class tools, they might find both too limiting, right? Because you already have specialized capabilities. So you run the risk of losing that capability and the teams that you already have built out. Um, so, so both may just be relegated to some less critical automation. So two frameworks thinking about the maturity, the automation maturity, and then the shipping metaphor to think about where you are in your organization landscape and what is the right framework that you want to engage with. So I'm going to focus heavily on the orchestration piece of it, right? So this is the kind of the heart of the discussion, like the big O in both. If you remember, I talked about the slide before around automation silos, and we talked about the different, you can have these different technologies built in, or you may have some elements of this in your organization. But end of the day, the key thing is like unless they're part of this strategic middleware, you will not have a true end-to-end process view of what is happening in your stack, in your application process. And that is where orchestration comes in, because it solves these challenges by unifying workflows. It enables flexibility and gives that centralized control across these diverse automation technologies. So why does orchestration matter, right? It's a difference between it's a difference between having a collection of talented musicians and having a symphony orchestra, right? So think about, like, let's say each automation technology, like whether it's RPA, BPA, iPaaS, or low-code platform, it's like a skilled musician, right? But without a conductor coordinating these efforts, timing their entries, ensuring they work together towards a common goal, you don't get music, you get noise, right? That's when orchestration matters. So I like to use this analogy a lot, and it also actually helps our cause, because the platform is conductor at the end of the day. But that's the analogy, like having a collection of talented musicians versus having an actual conductor leading an orchestra. So the difference between orchestration and automation, right? I think that those terms can get a bit confusing. Uh, but high level, this is where it comes in, right? Orchestration streamlines workflows across systems. It brings in humans, agentic tasks, effective coordination. Second, it drives efficiency and scales automation by breaking down silos, enabling faster business processes and better scalability. It fosters agility, which enables teams to fail fast, and iterate on new and updated processes. It ensures reliability and scalability, enabling you to reliably scale to millions and billions of workflow executions. And that's, I think, one critical part of Orkes Conductor is how we can scale reliably to even that billion mark in terms of workflow execution, because of the pedigree that we bring from Netflix, which I'll talk about very shortly. Observability and governance gives you visibility and control over your entire automation ecosystem. And finally, time to value, right? Because if your teams are experimenting more, they're failing fast, they're iterating, you are basically getting to market faster and creating value for your customers. So at the end of the day, this is how I think about orchestration. And that's why I was thinking about, you have these 5 letters, right? You have these 4 letters, like BOAT as an acronym. But truly the big flex here is orchestration. And in my mind, if I had to make a more of a stronger statement, without this O, without orchestration, there is no BOAT, right? So so orchestration doesn't just complement BOAT, it is the backbone on which BOAT rides or sails, if you will, using the boat analogy. So without orchestration, you have 4 separate automation strategies, but with orchestration, you have like one powerful integrated platform that can adapt to the changing business needs, scale with your organization, and provide the visibility and control that enterprises demand. Orchestration is everywhere. If you think about it, it's just not a new concept. You have orchestration at the service level with APIs, microservices. You have DevOps orchestration with deployment, CI/CD pipelines. You have event orchestration, whether you're integrating with PubSub, Kafka's of the world, like event-driven architectures. Data orchestration, we talk about this all the time. There's companies like Airflow, Prefect, Daxter, and we compete with those companies too. Security, and of course, process automation, where you have composable business functions, you have human tasks, and then business processes. So at the end of the day, your digital transformation journey needs a conductor, right? Not just more tools. So going back to the analogy of a symphony, like a conductor leading a symphony, an orchestrator ensures every task, manual or automated, works in perfect harmony. It coordinates dependencies, streamlines workflows, and unlocks the full potential of automation, which makes your digital transformation journey a reality versus just an aspiration. It's also, I think, a good juncture to talk about agentic AI, because that's it's a buzzing term, but I think when we talk about orchestration, there's also this new idea of agentic orchestration, right? This is now the paradigm shift in decision making, where you have autonomous decision making capabilities that can handle multiple decisions and even require human intervention. It can incorporate various data sources, and you can build governance at the from the get-go. So it's a paradigm shift in the way you think about that the business is going forward, right? So it is going heading in that direction. I think many companies are thinking about agentic. It's interesting, uh, but I think we're still, I think, at the beginning of this journey, right? Companies are exploring what agentic means for them, but we're talking to Gartner as well and about this topic, and they mentioned that that needs to be that middleware, right? That orchestration middleware that will make agentic a true implementation, and that's where we step in, right? So if you think about if you're thinking about one agent is useful, within no time you are entering into a world of multiple agents, right? So having a whole network of agents, which actually makes the workflow truly agentic, must be even better. And that's true, but scaling agentic workflows comes with its own challenges. As you start coordinating many agents or tasks, complex interactions will just explode in number. In a large enterprise, dozens of AI agents might be working concurrently without a plan. They can step on each other's toes, overload systems, and most importantly is governance. I think as you are thinking about your company, your organization, I'm sure observability, governance is going to be extremely critical. Like, how do you govern the interactions with AI, LLMs, with AI, LLMs and other parts of the AI journey? And you need that end-to-end observability and visibility into token management, into cost structures. And that's where workflow engines come in, because they are the essential like coordinators or the middleware that bring structure and harmony to complex automation flows. So they can orchestrate tasks between AI models, humans, microservices. They can support parallel execution, branching logic, really robust error handling. So yeah, retries, skips, escalating issues, bring in humans. So if I think about at the end of the day, it's all about resilience at scale, like, or even complexity. And that's where you need a true workflow engine to step in. Um, I would say for this slide, when you talk about strategies for scaling, it's all about decentralized execution. Like, you will have a decentralized execution plane, but with a centralized orchestrator, right? You need real-time feedback and monitoring loops. You need to bring in humans, because AI, in the end of the day, it's not perfect. There are situations where humans have to step in, and that's you can have that as part of your workflows, and then create more feedback loops for more deterministic outputs. It's a good segue into talking about Conductor. I'm going to be very quick here. Actually, I'm running out of time. So our origins came from Netflix. So back in the days, they were going from a data-centric company to a cloud-first company. They were going to this huge, massive transformation. And that's when they built out Conductor internally. Conductor eventually got open source, and now Orkes is a managed service that runs on top of Conductor. We are open source at its core. So that means we have almost zero vendor lock-in, and it's designed for mission critical workloads. So, we come from the Netflix scale. We have seen what happens there. So it brings that same resilience, that same reliability from the Netflix era, and we add the enterprise layer on top of that. We have a range of companies using us today, from Tesla to UWM, which are the biggest mortgage providers today, to LinkedIn, Sales Navigator, to JP Morgan. So, it's a wide variety of use cases, from order processing to insurance to M&As, and DevOps IT automation workflows. At a very high level, we do durable execution, we focus on if I'm going towards building new applications or modernizing existing applications, that's when we step in, and then fast time to market. But yeah, at a very high level, we are all about process automation, API management, microservices, and agentic workflows. Platform highlights, this is again giving a quick view, a bird's eye view on the different areas where Orkes Conductor can create value, from decoupling the business logic to durable execution to kind of event-driven architectures. We have a visual builder, which creates a low-code kind of an environment. You can version your workflows. You can do A/B testing before rollouts. You have deep levels of fine-grained access control at the task level, at the workflow level, and then you get auditing end to end. So our differentiation lies in multiple fronts, from the broadest AI and MetaDB integrations to first-class prompt engineering. And this is specifically to the agentic part of the story, right? Native human-in-the-loop support, token budgeting and AI cost control, and security and governance. So a couple of use cases to kind of close the conversation, and then I'll hop into some Q&A. But yeah, think about like order processing, like purchasing to pay kind of situations, so core operations where delays and disconnects can seriously impact customer experiences. The challenge is that in most companies, they have fragmented systems across sales, inventory, payments, and fulfillment. This leads to like missed orders, inventory issues, and poor visibility. That is where Orkes Conductor steps in as a centralized orchestrator. It manages the entire order lifecycle, from capture to shipment, coordinating tasks across every system and teams involved. So as soon as the order comes in, Conductor kicks off a fulfillment workflow. It syncs with the ERP and the warehouse systems in real time to check inventory, handles payment authorization and tax validation inline, and even automates exception handling using RPA, like when a SKU is out of stock or a payment fails. Plus the low-code apps, with low-code apps, customers and managers get real-time updates on what is happening, right? So that creates better outcomes for the entire business. Similarly, for loan origination, again, this can be a very fragmented process across underwriting, credit checks, document verification, and so on and so forth. It solves this with we solve this with again, a unified orchestration layer that manages the full loan lifecycle. We can integrate with different systems to automatically extract income data, identity, and asset details for operator documents. That we can integrate with RPA vendors to handle repetitive tasks around, let's say, banking systems or credit bureaus. And then finally, we have connectors like an iPaaS system to sync across different CRM servicing platforms or third-party APIs like Experian or Equifax. So you have that central orchestrator middle layer that creates that experience. Cool. Right on time here. As takeaway slide, I want to leave you off with a couple of assets that you can consume on our website. We have a landing page actually on Boat. So like if you go to /boat/how Orkes powers Boat, or if you go to white paper section, we have under resources, we have a white paper dedicated on this topic. But this landing page and this white paper should give you a pretty good understanding of like where we are in that overall space. Thank you again for hanging out with me for 30 minutes, and hope you learned something around this topic. If you have any further questions or comments, feel free to reach out to me directly at amit.bojraj@orkes.io. But thanks again, and have a nice day. Bye.